But maybe when you were this close to all of these people within these circles, maybe you had been seeing things that you really, really cannot talk about, which a lot of people come out now and talk about, people having taken part in satanic ritual abuse and those survivors coming out, or people that were under MK Ultra mind control. And many survivors talk about actually also Frank Sinatra being an agent for that in MK Ultra. What do you know about this?
Sinatra had very few handlers and friends within our group. And Sinatra got to where he was because he was that talented and made that much money for the mob. Think about what he made. I mean, this man, when he was in a building, would increase the casino drop 6, 7, 8 million a day.
Yeah, and he also, very interestingly, he produced, I think, and starred in The Manchurian Candidate from, I think, 1961, was it not, with Angela Lansbury and Lawrence Harvey? And it was about MK Ultra mind control, which was a very real CIA project since Operation Paperclip, and they took these Nazi scientists over to work for the government, and this MK Ultra project went on and on and on. Even though they said they closed it or and shut it down.
Yeah, no, but the interesting thing about what you're talking about, I was a part of a situation that was this kid was a candidate, and he's. I just did an interview about it, and I have my podcast itself, Hollywood Godfather podcast, and Sirhan. They convinced Sirhan that when Robert Kennedy was running for presidency, that if he got in, he would annihilate all the Palestinians. So they put him in that program and they hypnotized him. And key words that they knew Robert was going to say in his speech at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, he took him out.
Which was a trigger for him that triggered his mind control. Well, an alter they call it, right? And then he went into that state and that frame of mind, and then he killed Bobby Kennedy.
Right. And see the situation, which nobody knew, I was privy to that because I was there, and Johnny Rosselli was basically his personal handler after the program he was in. They got him the job at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, and they had gun placements in different areas. And they knew that the Secret Service, how stupid they were, not that they were stupid, they were smart to bring them in this area, that it probably happened going through the kitchen, and it did. And who's there? Him.
But they wanted to take him out, or just to sacrifice him anyway, huh? Sirhan. I mean, he was nothing to them. He was just a pawn.
He was the pawn to get this done.
Yeah.
They had to put somebody in place. Earlier, prior to that, by a few years, was the JFK assassination.
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Well, Lee Harvey Oswald was a tool that Marcello in New Orleans found. And then Chicago wanted their own hitter. New York wanted it. They thought this was too big because John F. Kennedy basically and Joe Kennedy screwed them, because that was my job then. From 58 to 61, I was visiting people, dropping off envelopes and getting the unions to back this senator to become the first Catholic Democratic presidential candidate. And what they were supposed to get, because it's always about money, Joe Kennedy promised that his son, the first duty as president, would invade Cuba and they'd get all the casinos back. Because when Fidel Castro threw Batista out, and he promised he double-crossed him, Fidel Castro had the help of Santo Trafficante, one of our major guys in Southern Florida. And then he went against him. And that's what this was all about. And the Kennedys promised over almost a 2-year period that they would invade. We will get this done. And they never did. And that's when they started taking out the Kennedys.
But some people also say or speculate that this was a war between the Mafia and the Illuminati, but you say that they were actually working together.
Together.
Because the Illuminati wanted to have total control, so they took out Kennedy. But maybe that's not the case, because you talk about it actually was the mob who conducted this along with the CIA agents, huh?
Oh, yeah, no, they did it. No, Lyndon Baines Johnson brought him to the target.
Yeah, and it was Johnson actually who was behind this.
And then, you know who the backup shooters were?
Please tell us.
There was 3 shooters there. One was my closest friend at the time, and he was the kill shot.
Your closest friend shot him.
Yeah, Johnny Rosselli. He was trained by the CIA.
Was he standing on the grassy knoll?
No, he was in the sewer as they came up. That's why that shot, when it hit John in the forehead, was on the angle it was and blew out his back of his head. Lee Harvey Oswald shot the governor. That's how bad he was.
John Connolly?
Yep.
Some people even say or speculate that John Connolly in that car had a gun, shooting him at a very close range because you could see the smoke, the gunfire powder.
Lie. I'm giving you the version that I know and heard. I was there.
You were there in Texas?
I was in Texas just before Lyndon Baines Johnson made the announcement that he'd be his running mate. I delivered a suitcase to Lyndon Baines Johnson's ranch out of Dallas. And guess who my driver was?
Who?
Jack Ruby.
No.
He was running all the mob for us out there.
So who gave you that suitcase? What was in the suitcase that you have to give
$30 million cash.
to Lyndon B. Johnson?
Here's the deal. John would do 8 years, and then he'd do 8, and they'll control the White House for the next 16 years.
And that was an agreement between them, Kennedy and Johnson.
Done. A done deal. That's the only reason. He hated the Kennedys.
Johnson.
Johnson, he had no use for them at all. But this was his chance. And he knew this could happen because obviously the network they had, they did it. And the wealth, not that he needed money, but it's the power. These guys are all, it's...
But if they were working together and they made this deal, why did he take him out? I mean, this traumatized the world and changed the world, actually.
Because you do not double trust the mob and the Illuminatis. The Kennedys double crossed them. They put Bobby in as attorney general. They were told immediately that's not happening. That's why Joe had a stroke. Joe had a stroke over that.
Joe Kennedy, the father, the matriarch, the patriarch of the family.
And part of the Illuminati and part of everything else with Prohibition, with Costello and all of them.
Did he agree to this assassination, his father, Joe?
No, he was told that if you don't stop your son, John, from putting his brother in, we're going to take him out.
Was this also because John F. Kennedy spoke openly about exposing the secret societies and this very, very famous speech that he did about wanting to...
That was Robert that encouraged him to do that. He was influenced by his own brother.